Mhm. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. So, yes, number 6, the 6th day of Lilith's Cave, a book exploration, and we'll be right back. Welcome to Jevim's research channel. Be advised that this channel is not for anyone under the age of 18. Also, the research and discoveries of this channel should not ever reflect the personal opinion or views of Jevim or her team unless publicly stated. Please understand that the opinions of the audience is also not a reflection of what or how Jevim feels. Let's bring a curious mind and open heart to these spaces for educational purposes only. Hi, we're back. Yay. Awesome. All right. So, okay, you'll notice no, I don't have on my hat today. Yeah. Feeling a bit springy. Definitely want it to be a little bit more airy out. No, I'm just going for something different because I can't stay the same. I can't stay the same no matter. I mean, I've tried, constantly changing. So, okay. That makes me quite unpredictable. I know, I know. All right, so we're going to get into it. We're going to get to the power of the Schwartz. Howard Schwartz was the one that had detected it, or not detected it. What am I saying? He translated it. Okay, the charm in the dress, guys. You ready to do this? Okay. All right. In the city of worms, and we're going back to the worms. Was a beautiful woman, God fearing and kind hearted, who devoted herself to good and charitable work. She was beloved by rich and poor alike, all of whom praised her and spoke well of her. One day her husband was shopping in the marketplace when he saw a beautiful material for sale. He thought that it would make a fine garment for his wife. So he purchased it and took it to the tailor to make a dress from it. This tailor agreed to do it, and the man left the material with him and departed. Now the tailor soon cut and sewed the dress, and when it was almost finished, a gentle wizard happened to enter the tailor's shop. This man saw the lovely dress and said to himself, "The garment becomes the wearer, and the wearer is surely beautiful." And he craved her. Oh my gosh, this is okay. What did the wizard do? He went home and wrote out a magic charm on a slip of paper, came back, gave it to the tailor, and told him to sew it into the dress and to hide it well so that it would neither felt nor seen. The tailor was reluctant to do it, but the wizard offered him a considerable sum and he would let himself be bribed. That's kind of messed up. The next day, the woman's husband picked up the dress from the tailor and brought it home as a gift for his wife. She found it to be exceptionally beautiful and decided to save it to wear on the eve of Yom Kippur, which was soon approaching. That Yom Kippur stuff is. I need to figure out what Yom Kippur is about. Because remember, those girls went missing in the other story right at Yom Kippur. And because this tailor had made many other dresses for her and knew her size very well, she did not even try it on, but put it away for a time. On the eve of Yom Kippur, after the meal before the fast, the woman donned the dress for the first time to wear to the synagogue. But the moment she put it on, an impure spirit took possession of her, and she was filled with desire for a man she had never met, but that she somehow knew how to find it. Oh, this is beautiful, y'all. All it takes is the writing of a paper to be sewn in a dress. Okay. When her husband asked her to accompany him to the synagogue, she replied that she was not feeling well and would follow a little later. So he went to the synagogue by himself, and after he had gone, the woman stepped outside, but instead of following after him, her legs carried her toward the villain's house as the charm commanded. The dazed woman walked until she found herself before a strange door and knocked on it. And no sooner did the wizard open the door than this woman, who had never seen him before, fell into his arms and kissed and hugged him as if they had always been lovers. So too did she transgress by eating and drinking everything he offered her, without a thought that it was Yom Kippur, and that the food in any case was unacceptable. And after the meal, the wizard led her to the bedroom to lie down. Well, at least he fed her first.
Yeah.
The woman followed after him unquestioningly, as if in a trance, and when he began to undress, she did as well. As soon as she removed the dress, the unclean spirit immediately left her, and she came to her senses. And her remorse was terrible to behold. She decided to leave at once and reach for her dress, but the instant she put it on, her desire for him returned twofold. She forgot her determination to go and was ready to give herself to him again. Once again, she undressed in order to consummate her lust, but again, the moment the dress was off, waves of remorse washed over her. It was then she realized that the dress must be exerting some kind of power over her, and she decided then and there to leave without it before she committed an even greater sin. Thus dressed only in her Kim's, I don't know what that is. She hurried out of the house and through the streets of a Jewish quarter, terrified that someone would see her. But of course, everyone was in the synagogue for Yom Kippur, and no one saw her before she reached home. Once there, she wept bitterly over what had occurred, and also gave thanks to God that her sin had not been greater. She was terrified that her husband might find out what had happened and decided to keep it a secret, lest he cast her out. So it was that when her husband returned from the synagogue and asked why she didn't come, she told him that she had felt too ill to go and had decided to stay home. And her husband, who trusted her completely, did not question her explanation at all. A few days later, the wizard decided to sell the dress in the marketplace in hope of finding another beautiful victim for his lust.
Oh my God. This guy.
Yeah.
This
It Yeah, and it happened that the woman's husband was shopping there, and he saw the dress and recognized it at once, for there was none other like it. Naturally, he was stunned by the sight and could not stand how it came to still be there, or to be there. Still, he did not reveal his feelings, but bartered for the dress and purchased it for a second time, and the wizard sold it to him, ignorant of the fact that he was the husband of his first victim, for the wizard was hoping another victim would soon be knocking at the door. How we do it over here, y'all? It's very interesting. When the husband came home that day, he said to his wife, "Where is the dress that you wore on Yom Kippur?" She pretended to go and look for it, and after a while she came back empty handed and said that she could not find it, and he saw that she was afraid. Then he took out the dress that he had purchased in the market and showed it to her and said, "How is it that this dress came into a stranger's hand in the marketplace where I purchased it for the second time today?" Wow. And when the woman saw the dress, she fell down in a faint, and when she recovered, she confessed to her husband all that had happened to her, fantastic as it was. The man immediately took the dress to the rabbinic court and asked them to examine it. They ripped apart all of the seams and studied it thoroughly, and in this way they discovered the hidden charm. And when they read it, they understood why the woman had lost her will when she was wearing the dress. Then the rabbis accompanied the husband to the tailor who had sewed the dress and confronted him with the charm. And when he saw it, he grew very afraid and confessed how he had been bribed by the man to sew it into the dress. After the rabbis went to the authorities and accused the man of witchcraft and offered as evidence the dress, the charm, and the testimony of the tailor and the righteous woman who had been the victim of a spell. Soon it was that a few days later the wizard heard a knock at his door, and assuming it was his next victim, he opened the door with a smile, only to find himself confronted with guards who dragged him off to court, where he was shortly condemned to death. Do you hear that? Oh, death for a spell. Wow. And within a week, the sentence was carried out and justice was done. As for the tailor, he was punished by being forbidden to practice his livelihood because he could not be trusted, and was forced to become a water carrier, bearing the heavy yoke of the buckets all day long. And with every step he took, he repented his sin and gave thanks that it had not cost him his life. And that is a 16th century Germany. Now, what I've noticed with all these too is it seems like it's the men doing the magic. It's the men making all the trouble, going after the women.
Dirty old fools is what they are.
Well, I mean, some of them are, but I mean, it's Lilith's cave, and like it's women's fault, right? Anyway, it's just wild. Okay, what is the next one? We got through that one. Oh, the scribe. This one's short. Okay, the scribe, and we going back to Gehenna. Gehenna. Okay. On the Sabbath, the tortures of Gehenna ceased for a day. And the spirits that were punished there and the demons that punished them are set free to roam the world until the Sabbath ends. But not all returning to the place. Make this a little bit bigger. Of punishment on time. Some lag behind until dawn and seek ways to cause turmoil in the world once the sanctity of the Sabbath has been lifted. In one town, there was a scribe who was writing a Torah. This Torah was to be used the first time in a newly built synagogue. The scribe lived in fear of not completing the Torah in time for Simchat Torah, when the Torah reading begins anew with the first verses of Genesis. So it was that as soon as the Sabbath had ended and the Havdalah prayers had been said, even though the rabbi had warned him to refrain from working, this scribe hurried to his desk. He was in such a hurry, in fact, that he failed to recite Psalm 91, which protects against the dangers of demons. I'm going to have to read that. The scribe worked like a demon himself until midnight, but then his eyes grew blurry, and he knew he must stop, for if he made a mistake, he would have to write the Torah all over again. And as he reluctantly went to sleep, the scribe wished that someone would help him complete the work so that the Torah would be ready on time. Now, every wish is overheard either by an angel or a demon. Always keep that in mind, y'all. And in this case, it was a demon on his way back to Gehenna who overheard the scribe's wish and decided to fill it at once. This demon tried to enter by slipping beneath the front door, but because the text of the mezuzah maybe, which the scribe had written himself, was flawless, it could not. Then the demon circled the house searching for an open window, and at last it found one that was open just a crack. But that was enough for the demon, who quickly slipped inside and hastened to the scribe's desk, where the incomplete Torah lay open. The demon picked up the scribe's pen, dipped it in the ink, and began to write. It copied the text at a great speed, for the demon knew it by heart, because demons are as familiar with the law as are the angels. And before very long, the demon had filled that page of parchment, and had started on the next. Soon the page was filled as well, and the demon, lost in the task, continued to write long into the night until a great many folios of the parchment had been written, and only one page still remained. The demon hunted for more parchment, but could not scrape was to be found, but not a scrap was to be found. And the demon, in a frenzy to complete the task before being forced to return to Gehenna at dawn, hastened to the bed of the scribe and began to strip the skin off the man's back, despite his howls of pain. Then continued to scribble away on it until the task was done. These are folklore tales, y'all. This is wild to me.
Dusty old demons.
Dusty old demons. Oh, we don't have parchment. Let's have your skin. Well, just you. Okay, we're only at like 16 after. The bleeding tree. Now, we read about the bleeding tree. The bleeding tree was in a bigger story before. Yeah, so it feels like there's some adaptations, possibly.
This one's older too. It's 2012.
12th century. Yeah, this is really old, y'all. Okay. A woodcutter once entered a part of the forest that he had never explored. He approached one large, conspicuous tree and raised his axe to cut it down. But as he did, something fell upon his coat from above, and when he looked to see what it was, he found in his horror that it was blood. Terrified, he dropped his axe and ran as fast as he could. He didn't stop running until he reached his village. There he told the rabbi what had happened and showed him his blood-stained coat. The rabbi looked very concerned and said, You did well to run away at once, but tell me, you did not leave anything behind, did you?" And when the woodcutter told him about the axe, the rabbi became very solemn. For a while he seemed lost in thought. Then he said, "Although it involves great risk, I'm afraid you have no choice but to retrieve the axe, because if it falls into the hands of demons, it could come back to haunt you. For whatever object the demons obtain of a person, they hold the power of that object over them. And because the axe earns your keep, you would be risking your livelihood as well as your own life if you did not get it back. For surely the tree is infested with demons, and that blood supernatural. Take the coat and burn it as far from your house as you can, for if the evil were to be unleashed there, the demon might take possession of your house." The woodcutter could not wait to get rid of the coat. He burned it at the edge of the forest, far from any habitation. And when it burned, a terrible stench rose up, stirring his nostrils and filling him with fear, so that he ran off. And still the stench followed after him. Only when he passed the house of prayer did it depart. What is the house of prayer? See? It's 12th century. We ain't gonna know. When the woodcutter got home and he told his wife all that the rabbi had said, and off the terrible stench of the burning blood, she became very frightened. They talked over the matter in hushed tones so that the children would not hear them. And they decided with great reluctance that the woodcutter must indeed try to get the axe. Otherwise, the whole family was at risk, including their 3 children. That was too great a hazard to bear. The woodcutter set out the next morning, determined to recover the axe no matter what. At first he was frightened, but before long his fright turned into anger, and he vowed not to let the demons destroy his life. But early after By early afternoon, he reached the dark part of the forest, still filled with determination. But as soon as he glimpsed the tree, he became frightened again, for there was never a more terrible sight than that tree, dripping blood, as if it were wounded. And then he saw his axe lying beneath it, covered with blood, for the blood of the tree was dripping directly upon it, as if a murder had just been committed. Then the man ran forward and snatched up the axe, but the moment he did so, he felt a great force take possession of him. It was then in his horror that he realized that the axe held him in its power, and he felt it lifting, as if on its own, wrenching itself out of his hands, and at that very moment the axe cut him down. It is some crazy stuff. And you have to wonder where all these tales come from.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And they're taught to children too.
We need to find more and just keep going.
Mm-hmm. It's wild to me. All right, the demon in the tree. We're going back to worms. I'm telling you, worms. Hotbed. Okay. All right. Are we frozen or are we still going? We're still going.
Hello, kitty.
Hi, everyone. How you doing out there?
Hello.
Hello. Okay. It happened. Okay, the demon in the tree. It happened in the city of Worms that the rabbi's son was playing hide and seek with a friend, and he was looking for him in a hollow tree trunk. What's wrong? Oh, Lord. Mad cat. Okay. All at once, he saw a finger emerge from the tree, and he assumed it was that of his friend. He took off his ring as a jest and slipped it on the finger, pronouncing the words of a wedding vow. Now, we just read this with the finger, right? Yeah. Suddenly, the finger was pulled back into the tree, and a moment later, the face of a strange looking woman with long black hair emerged. Her smile was so evil that the young man jumped away, and then she disappeared back into the hollow trunk. At that, the young man turned and ran away as fast as he could, nor did he tell anyone what had happened. Years passed, and the young man was wed. The night the bride and groom went to his home together for the first time, and the bride lingered outside looking around. At that moment, the demoness emerged from the hollow tree and pulled back a branch that struck her in the face, killing her. When the year of mourning was over, the young man was betrothed again, and the same thing happened when he returned home with his new wife on the very first night. Now that's weird. That's so weird. Different ways of spinning this tale. Now the man was becoming afraid that he was cursed. So too did many fathers refuse to consider him as a husband for any daughter, causing great anxiety to his parents. What was worse was that no one could explain what had happened to the brides, and a cloud of suspicion hung over him. His third bride was the daughter of a very poor man who had been unable to give a dowry. This girl had always worked very hard to help her family get by. She was modest and yet wise in the ways of the world. This girl, too, took a walk around the house to explore it, and the demoness in the hollow tree came out to kill her, as she had done to the others. But the girl saw the branch that the demoness had pulled back and quickly bent down, avoiding the branch. So too did she see the demoness run away and followed her until she saw her slip back into the tree. That night she told her groom what had happened, and he was horrified. He recalled at once the demon in the tree whom he had long ago put out of his mind. He turned very pale, and in a solemn voice he recounted the strange incident. But why would this demon harm only his wives and not him? The girl understood at once, because she considers herself your true bride. Did you not, after all, pronounce the words of the wedding vow? The poor groom grew faint with fear. All that night they debated what to do. When the young man recovered from his panic, he grew angry. It had been a jest, after all, and he wanted to take revenge. He insisted that they must burn down the tree. But his bride talked him out of it. She said, "That tree is her home, and if you deprive her of it, she might seek to deprive you of yours." And he realized that she was right. Then the girl, excuse me, then the girl said, "Let me try to come to terms with her. This is sad. It is sad that demons love jam above all things. Let him take a plate of jam and leave it by the hollow trunk as an offering of peace." And because he could think of nothing else except to move away and abandon his home, the young man agreed. The next morning, the young bride placed the plate of jam by the hollowed trunk. All that day she stayed away from the tree, and the next morning she came back to see what had happened. There she found a gold coin on the plate, gleaming in the sun. Uh-oh. Let me close this out. She hurried in and showed it to her husband, who sighed with relief to know that they had appeased the demoness, at least for a while. Every day after that, the young bride left a plate of jam by the tree, and the next day she found a gold coin. The young couple were grateful for the gold, but they still lived in fear of the demoness. The time came when the young bride found that she was with child. She knew all the tales about Lilith and how she liked to strangle children. Nor did she doubt that the demon in the tree was the daughter of Lilith. Therefore, she felt that her unborn child was in danger. So it was that the bride one day went to the tree and called for the demons to come forth. At first there was silence. Then at last the unearthly voice of the demoness was heard, demanding to know what she wanted. "All I want is to come to an understanding, for I know about the ring, and therefore I know that you feel you are my husband's true wife." "Yes, that is right," hissed the demoness. "In that case," the girl said, "let me be brief. I am willing to share him with you if you will vow not to harm any one of our family, including any child. If so, I will let him come to you 1 hour a day at sunset." Wow. At that moment, the head of the demoness emerged from the tree, still looking exactly as she had when the young man was a child. She looked directly into the eyes of the bride and nodded. Then she sank back into the trunk. For 7 years after that, the man was a free man all but 1 hour of the day, when he was the slave of his demon wife. And all that time, the demoness did not bring harm to anyone. And even seemed that she protected them from danger. At the end of 7 years, the man came to the trunk, and there on the plate used for the jam, he found his ring, the one he had placed on her finger, and he knew at once that the demoness had taken leave from them for good. And that is 16th century Germany. Are we starting to see? Haley, good to see you. Hey, all right, so are we starting to see where all these wild stories are coming from? Like mostly from Germany, right?
Them Germans, yeah. Them Germans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mostly Germany.
My ancestors are assholes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, to say the least. These old folk tales. Like the ring is a very similar story in the finger story that we read earlier this week. And it is where they got the corpse bride from. Absolutely.
It's always about a finger and a ring.
A finger and a ring. If you like it, then you should put a ring on it. Okay,
In a
let's
tree.
get back. In a tree. Like a dreaming tree. Okay, we're going to read one more story, and then we're probably going to cut out early depending on how long this story is. Rabbi Samuel the Pious and the Magician.
Okay.
There's so much magic that men do. It's spiritualist. Uh-huh. Do they work with the Kabbalah? Yes. Is that with a C or a K? Yes. Kabbalah C, Kabbalah K. Okay. All right. Are you all ready?
What's the way?
Rabbi Samuel the Pious, father of Rabbi Judah the Pious, was endowed with great powers, which were as well known abroad as they were in his own land. One day, 3 magicians from foreign lands came to him. They offered to reveal all the secrets of their magic if Rabbi Samuel would divulge his secrets to them. Samuel first requested a demonstration of their powers and had them agree that if his proved to be greater, he would not have to reveal anything at all. Confident in their own powers, the magicians agreed to these terms. They even offered to let Rabbi Samuel make a demon of them, which they would then fulfill. Huh? Demand them. Okay. It's still early when we get up. Rabbi Samuel thought carefully. Then he said, Rabbi Jacob, my teacher, lives far from here. It takes 3 months to travel there. I will write a letter to him asking him to send me a certain book. If you can bring the book back in 3 days, I will accept that your powers are great enough to reveal my own. All the magicians smiled, and one of them said, This we will gladly do, for we have come here from a place farther than 6 months away in traveling time, and it took us only 3 days. We can travel to this rabbi and back in the same time. So the 3 magicians went with Rabbi Samuel into the forest and walked until they came to a clearing. There, hidden from everyone else, one of them drew a circle, and the other conjured the soul of the third one and sent it off on the task. Rabbi Samuel saw the man go into a deep trance, almost like death. So too did he see the man's soul as it departed from his body. Astral travel. For nothing of the supernatural was hidden from his eyes. And at the very moment that the soul departed, Samuel quietly announced a spell, making it impossible for the soul to re-enter the body. At that, the magicians returned to take their leave. Samuel asked them if they were not going to guard the body of their friend while his soul was gone, but they assured him that he was safe inside the magic circle, for nothing could enter it except his soul as it returned. At this, Rabbi Samuel smiled to himself. On the 3rd day they returned to the same place in the forest. Rabbi Samuel saw that the man's body was exactly as they had left it. That in itself spoke well of their powers. So we're dealing with fasting too, the 3 days, right? A dying and resurrecting 3 days later.
It's very interesting. It's all about
Yeah. Not long after, Rabbi Samuel saw the soul of the third magician returning like a flaming comet. But this was visible to him alone, for the others could not see the soul, although they were able to conjure it. The soul reached the edge of the magical circle, but could not go beyond it. Thus, no matter how it tried, the magician's soul could not re-enter his body. The time for the soul to return had passed, and the magician's body still resembled a corpse. The other magicians began to worry, for the soul was required by the spell to be not a moment late. When they were beginning to panic, Rabbi Samuel asked them if they would acknowledge his powers as greater if he were able to assist the soul in returning to the body. They both begged him to do so at once and accepted the terms. And Rabbi Samuel pronounced a holy name, and all at once the barrier that had held back the soul vanished, and the soul re entered the magician's body, and the magician opened his eyes. Now, whenever a soul enters the body, it forgets everything it knew. So it was that the magician who had sent his soul on a mission recalled nothing of how it had been prevented from coming back. And when the magician found the strength to sit up, he reached into his pouch and took out the book that Samuel had requested. In it was a reply to his letter from Rabbi Jacob. The magicians told their companion how his life had almost been lost, but that Rabbi Samuel had saved him. And they all thanked him again for saving him and gratefully divulged their secrets to him. And afterward they went away. Nor did they ever hesitate to say that Rabbi Samuel's magic was greater than their own, for they had seen proof with their own eyes. And that's 16th century Germany.
Wow.
Yeah. Dead man's accusation. This one looks good too. Oh, this one's really short. Let's go ahead and read this one. Yeah, we'll go ahead and read this one. Dead man's accusation. Two builders were working in the house of a Jew in Regensburg. During their work, they noticed gold and silver in one room and decided to rob the house when the owner left for the synagogue. This they did, and when they had taken everything of value and were about to leave, one of the robbers thought to himself that he would rather not divide the spoils. So he took a hammer and struck his partner from behind, killing him with one blow. Then he grabbed the bag of spoils and ran away, leaving the body behind. When the man returned from the synagogue, he found the body in his house. Then he was very afraid, lest he be accused of having killed him. Yep. And that is what happened. When the police were called, they took the Jew into custody, and when the rumor that a Jew had killed a Christian spread among the people, a relentless mob formed in front of the house. Learning what had happened, Rabbi Judah the Pious went directly to the mayor of the town and told him it was certain that the man had been killed by his partner, with whom he had worked in the Jew's house. And Rabbi Judah assured the mayor that he could prove what he said was true. He asked the mayor to first give an order that the gates to the city be closed so that the murderer would not be able to escape, and then accompanied him to the place of the murder. Although skeptical, the mayor agreed to do these things, and after giving the order, he went with him to the house of the Jew where the body still lay, and a great crowd had gathered. And among them was the murderer himself, who was not afraid of being there because the Jew had been jailed, and there was no one else to recognize him. When they stood in the presence of the body, Rabbi Judah took out of his pocket a tiny scroll on which he had written the holy name, and he placed it in the dead man's right hand and closed his cold fingers around it. Rabbi Judah stood back, and the others could see that the body was breathing again, and the man slowly opened his eyes. All those who saw this trembled with fear, for they knew they were witnessing a miracle. Then Rabbi Judah said to the dead man, "Who killed you?" And the man raised his eyes, which were terrible to behold, for he had already glimpsed the punishment of hell. He looked around the room and saw his partner, who was frozen in fear. The dead man said, "There he is. That is the one who killed me. He struck me on the head with a hammer." All at once the murderer tried to run away, but the crowd grabbed him and began to beat him. They were already filled with hatred, and if they could not blame the killing on the Jews, at least they could exact some revenge. And when they finished with him, he was a corpse. The dead man witnessed all this and saw that his death had been avenged. Then the return then he returned to Rabbi Judah and said, "Free me now of the burden of living, for it is terrible to be brought back from the dead." And Rabbi Judah reached down and took the parchment from the man's hands. And at this instant his body slumped back to the ground. But none of those present forgot what they had witnessed. They told it to their children, and it is still spoken to this day. And that's from the 1500s, y'all. That is wild. Okay, we're not going to do it anymore. I'm already tired this morning for reading. But it seems like women are bastardized. Men are allowed to do a lot of magic, a lot of necromancy. We've read a lot about necromancy.
And then Germans.
Mm-hmm. German Jews. Yeah. It's really weird, y'all. I don't get it. But anyway, if you're Jewish and you have more insight into these tales, or you knew of these tales and you were raised on these tales, I would love to know more insight. Maybe you can drop a comment. That would be amazing, because I would really like to know more of the what's what with this stuff.
For sure, because it is folktales, but it keeps you at the edge of your seat.
We know that these stories are a way of incorporating culture, as well as raising children with a certain set of belief systems, right? Yeah. So it's really interesting, this folklore. Okay, so we're probably going to do again tomorrow, 8 o'clock, until we get through it. I could go to the beginning. Let's see, which one are we at now? We at this
110. We're on 111. Maybe.
Well, it's not changing, so I can see which page we're going to be doing. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So tomorrow morning, we're going to look at mocking devils.
The devil. It looks like Santa Claus.
I love it. Yeah, it looks like Santa Claus in a wagon. I love it. It looks fun.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of fun. So we'll get to it in the morning. Until then, and that'll be a Friday. This is Thursday. Have a great day, y'all.
Later.
And thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.